This is Eric Rutan of Cannibal Corpse. You are listening to the Scars and Guitars podcast with Andrew McKay Smith.
G'day everybody, and thanks so much for tuning in to yet another installment of the show. I appreciate it. I have a conversation with the great Tony Dolan from Venom Inc. to share with you. Now, the catalyst for the chat is due to the launch of a new album from Venom Inc. It'll be out on September 23rd, 2022 via Nuclear Blast. It is titled There's Only Black, and in this chat we indeed talk about how the lads derived that album title. It's a very interesting story indeed. Elsewhere, well, it's a conversation with the Demolition Man, so we take it wherever the Demolition Man wants to go. So we talk about my recent adventures at a Kiss concert, songcraft, creating this new album, a bunch of other stuff, as usual. With a member of Venom Inc., it's a deep dive into some cool things that will make for a very entertaining listen. So here he is. Actually, first, what I'd like to do is play a tune for you. Don't Feed Me Your Lies. If you're listening via the podcast apps, we'll listen to that first and then dive into the chat. Of course, on YouTube, I can't do that, so we'll cut to the conversation right now. Either way, let's go.
Hello. Hey. Hi.
Right.
How are you?
How you going, mate?
Good to see you. I'm so sorry. I only just got got an email from Arnie at Nuclear Blast who said, oh my God, I was traveling and I just got all these emails and I got these interviews and can you do them? And I looked down the list and I was like, oh, I'm in time for yours. So I plugged straight in. I'm so sorry.
Never ever a drama. It's really good to be catching up with you, mate.
Yeah, good, nice shirt, and it's good to catch up with you too. How's it in my beautiful Australia?
Mate, it's lovely down here. It's a bit. I'm in Queensland, and it's a bit colder here, mate, than what we're used to. You'd laugh at that when I say it's a bit colder, being from the north there. Yeah. But mate, no complaints. I actually saw Kiss on Saturday night. Unbelievably, first time I'd ever seen them. Yeah.
Oh no way! What did you think?
Well, it wasn't worth $180. I'll say that. No. To begin with, because it just isn't. But that they're choreographed, they're well rehearsed. Here's the big thing. I don't think that they were miming, but I think I figured out what they might be doing, which is have their own vocals pre-recorded playing at the same time. Okay. Yeah. I didn't even think of that until the night, and I was listening to it and going, that's way too on point, like what Ozzy's doing. Like there must be some sort of a blend, like a hybrid of the two of them.
Yeah, that's exactly what they do. They kind of, they do all their backing stuff around the tracks is pre-recorded, and they punch that through. That's what when people would go. I was standing on the tour before when they were going. Oh, you can tell he's miming. He was actually singing, but he's not putting all the power in. So the sound guys kind of blend it in, so you get the deal there. So he was still singing. It just wasn't full force. But because they've got it all pre-recorded, that kind of helps them along,
Yeah, it was all the hits, but they played some garbage off the two most, the albums that have been out in the last sort of 25 odd years. To be honest, you don't need to hear them. You just, play some stuff like, You Make Me Rock Hard or some deep cut that is just so far, so like I don't mind the unmasked stuff from the 80s. When I say unmasked, like when they took the makeup off, the Bruce Kulick stuff, I call it. I thought that had some good shit, So, so not too bad.
I think that's a difficulty. I was really fortunate because I saw them at Cobo Hall in Detroit in about 74 or whatever. And it was one of the first shows I'd seen in America or in Canada. We'd emigrated to Canada, and it was just spontaneous. I was out with my buddy. We came back from, just playing around and stuff. And his brother came in and said, we're going to a concert tonight. He said, I got you a ticket too, Tony. And I was like, oh, okay. So I remember I went back and I'd seen a couple of concerts in the UK, but it was around about, Slade and Shawaddy Waddy and all that kind of glam rock thing in the UK at the time. But I went to a venue at the City Hall, seated down, with my parents or my stepfather and my mum. So it was kind of sedate, kind of pop rocks, more poppy stuff. And then, so I'm like, oh yeah, I'm going to a gig. And my mum says, where are you going? I said, Detroit. She went, fucking Detroit, you're not going to Detroit? And I said, no, I'm going with his brother and everybody, but they got me a ticket. So he said, who are you going to see? I went, I got no idea. And so then I get ready, they pick me up, off we go to Detroit, you know. They say, yeah, we're going to Cobo Hall. I'm like, okay, that could be anything, I don't know. So fucking gigantic arena. And then I'm like, wow, and it's just got Kiss everywhere. And I said, why did you say Kiss? They went, that's who we're going to see. And I was, you know, yeah, it sounded like some kind of a British summer resort kind of band, you know, Kiss. And I was like, right, okay. And then the show happened, and I was like, I walked out of there thinking, I didn't understand it. I just thought it was the most amazing thing.
Yeah.
The music, of course, was just regular music, rock and roll or whatever. But the theatrics, it just blew my mind. I was like, fucking hell, I didn't realize you could do that. I'd never seen something like that before. And so I was so impressed by that. But I think the difficulty is with a band like Kiss, you had such you know, we find it too. You know, I get criticized for that with the Venom Inc thing, you know, because people go, you know, playing all this old material, you should focus on the new material. But then when we focus on the new material, people go, why are you playing some of
you can't please everybody.
You know? Yeah. You can't, you know. So, but I think it's a balance. That's what I was trying to do. Interesting, you said about the deep cuts, because that's what I kept trying to do in the last kind of 10 years. I would dig down for tracks that people would never have heard played. Even at the time, but maybe a favorite B-side, you know, Dead of the Night, Lady Lust, you know, Cry Wolf or something from what was it, and anything that was like, I really dig that track, but I would never have heard that live, because they were, you know, you have to play black metal, you have to play Witch, you know, you have to play Countess Battery. So what are the ones that you would never hear? And so I was digging those out, you know. So put a couple of classics at the end, make the set interesting, so it goes through all kinds of periods, and look for gems that is a B-side, or like you say, a real deep cut that where there's a bonus track somewhere, and pull them out. And I think that makes for a good show. But I'm like you know, when I go and say a live show, I want it to be, if you're going to say Rammstein, it's choreographed, of course, but it's fucking live. It's just happening, you know, and I love that connection to the band and the music. But I think when it becomes kind of a cabaret type of thing, like the Motley Crue thing, it's like, it's kind of nostalgic, but it's also, you know, I don't know, it misses the heart and the soul of the thing. And once you don't connect to that, then it's, you know, it's just a visual, and it's like, yeah, it looked okay, but you know, music is about connecting to you. So you know, you come out there and you can't speak, you screamed your bollocks off all night, and it's just like the whole thing overwhelmed you. And so I think it's a bit shallow at times.
Yeah, it's interesting about the Crew, isn't it? You know, you raised some really good points in there. The thing about the Crew is they were last relevant when John was in the band. John Corabi was in the band in 1994. And they are basically a vaudeville act at this point in time. I mean, look at bloody Vince, for God's sakes. He doesn't look fit and healthy.
No, he definitely doesn't look fit, and he definitely doesn't look healthy. And his voice, you know, I mean, as you age, your voice changes anyway. But if you, I guess if you, like an older artist, you could kind of look at the Stones, you know. I mean, you know, Mick and Keith, they're like 500 years old, you know, so they were there before we had the wheel. And, you know, but you go and see them and they're still playing and they're still singing, they're still on point. Okay, it may be a little kind of, you know, how many times you want to hear Jumping Jack Flash or something like that, or see this, but it feels spontaneous. It still feels spontaneous. It feels like they're out there to play, and they play every song as if they mean it, and they're still on point, I think, for the most part. But if you just do a Vince Neil, no offense to anybody, but if you do a Vince Neil and you make your money, you've done all your drugs, you've done all that party and stuff, and now you just spend your money on drive-through burger places and sitting eating all the time, and you don't bother singing and you don't bother with music, and then jump back on the bike. You know, you've got to train first, haven't you? You can't do an Ironman if you haven't trained. You know, you could probably do the first 10-minute run and then you're fucked, and you don't do any of the other parts of the sport. You know, you have to train to do that. And I think personally, I think when people walk on and off stage and they think that's enough, that, I'm here, you should be happy, I go. I don't think that's enough. And especially if you're going to charge someone nearly $200 or something to fucking come and see me. And then if you want to do a meet and greet, it costs you another $1,000 to come and stand while you take a photo near me. And I'll give you a couple of things, even those meet and greets, you go, oh, you can bring one personal item to be signed. It's like, what? Why?
Yeah.
It's like, well, if too many people want to do it. It go, well, reduce the amount of people who can do it, or do something else. It's like I always had a problem with things like that because people would say, do you want to do a meet and greet? And I go, yeah, okay, sure. And then particularly in America, they'd want to do these VIP meetings and pay for them. And I don't mind that if the fans get quality, which means first, you can chat to them. They have more than just a limited 15 minutes. B, they can bring whatever they want to get signed if they want. And if they don't, we'll give them stuff to sign. And B, we can give them stuff they can't just get anywhere else. They can't go to the merch stand and get. So you can actually interact with them. That's the point. That's the special thing about it, It's like, no, come in. We'll give you a badge. We'll give you a picture. We'll give you you can get into the gig early and you can stand in front of us, not touching us while we take a picture. I'm like, okay. And I always figured, people, they go, well, you could charge this, and people will come in. And I say, yeah, but my problem is that because it's me, we would do that, and someone's paying, I don't know, $70. Then I go outside and stand and have a cigarette with everybody and do exactly the same for nothing.
I know, yeah.
So it's like, well, I don't know. I feel bad for the people who've just paid for something different if I didn't give them something special, So, yeah, it's all. People say to me, yeah, well, it's business, Tony, and that's the business side. And it's like, okay, you're just marketing it, so it becomes just like everything else, which is fine, I guess, on a level. But for me, that's why I love the punk thing, and the whole idea of that was because punk was just about you and me, just like chatting, having a beer, having a smoke. Then I'd pop on stage, you get in the crowd, we'd both have a great time, and then we'd have a beer afterwards.
Yeah.
That was how I loved it, so.
Yeah. Oh, look, it's interesting in your position. You're basically the biggest underground band in the world ever. Okay. And you do have that punk ethos. You thoroughly deserve all of the riches the good Lord can throw at you at this point. There's no doubt about that. But it's about that balance, isn't it? It's about what feels right. And I think your statements there just nailed it.
Yeah, well, that's very nice of you to say. Thank you very much. But yeah, I think it's about, it's what Lemmy said. Two things to me when I asked him, when I got the chance to ask him, like, how how should I do it? Before he went, it's like, how to conduct yourself in regard to your music. And he said, always be good to your fans and always be honest. And that's it. There is no more than that. And funnily enough, the more honest you are, the more people will attack you because they think you're up to something, because they're up to something.
Yeah.
So they go, well, why would you do that? Because there must be a reason you're doing that, because I would only do that if X, Y, Z. And it's like, no, I'm doing it because I want to do it. And that's as simple as it is. And you keep it that, when you try and contact a lot of artists, for example, as well, you go through a myriad of red tape and stuff. Even if you know them, you have to still go through jump through hoops to get to talk to them if you're, on the other side of the planet or you're trying to contact. Whereas for me, I try and get people can come direct. I might still have to take them through the protocols afterwards, but I'm always available to be direct. Because that's what's important, and it's important to me. So that's what I would want as a person. So I want them to have that, And so everything that I do and the way I view it, particularly myself, is from me being a fan. What would be cool for me? Then I know that's going to be cool for someone else, because it was cool. It would be great if it was me, But you have to keep it from your heart. It has to mean something. And if you go on and you go out or you do your things and it doesn't mean anything, and you're just about the money to it, then you disconnect to the whole, for me, you disconnect to the whole reason. Maybe for someone else, that's the point, like the old days when people go, why, you joined a band to get pussy. It's like, you don't need pussy. You don't need to be in a band to get pussy. And they go, oh, you get more pussy if you're in a band. It's like, well, you can get more pussy doing a lot of things, but that's not why you would do it. And it's if you want it for fame, more people than enough. Incredible musicians, incredible bands, incredible music don't get famous all over the planet. And if you want it for money, you can talk to probably 98% of the musicians on the planet who go, I'm fucking broke, but they're still doing that. So it's not about all those things. Those things are fortunate and they happen if you maintain yourself and if you find yourself in the right connection. But it's not the reason you do it. And even talking to younger bands or younger artists, who may have even been doing it 10 years or longer in some cases, and they say to me, we just needed that break and I'm not going to do it anymore. And, I've been doing this for 10 years and I deserve it. It's like, well, nobody deserves it.
Yeah, it's a tough one.
But it's like, if at any point in whatever you do, if at any point you give up, you decide, okay, I've put too much work into this, it's not working, so fuck it. You're not Usain Bolt and you don't win that gold medal. At any point he could have given up on his career and thought, I can't be asked to get up at 4 o'clock in the morning. I can't be fucked to do this competition anymore. I'm bored with it. He wouldn't have won the gold medals. What made him run for those gold medals? And like I told my daughter, even in that state, why would I go into a race that knowing that if I ultimately trained every day of my life, sacrificed everything to go into a race where I was going to run against Usain Bolt, and I knew he was going to finish before the gun had even stopped firing, why would I do that? Because it becomes about you. It becomes your challenge. It becomes your success. And I might go into the race thinking, I'm going to try and beat him. But if I get a silver medal or a bronze medal, that means I'm in the top 3 in the world. Yeah. So that becomes my goal. So you set your goals for yourself. And I think that's the main thing about that. Keep the connection to who you are, not what the prize is. Just be who you are and do it, be it honestly. And the riches are amazing. You don't need... You might not need all the money in the world anyway, so but if you get to come to Australia, go to Japan, go to Asia, go to Russia, and you get to meet incredible people and have an amazing time and get to share music, fucking hell, is that not, that's better than having $5 million and just living in Malibu staring at the sea every day by myself. I think anyway.
And that philosophy is precisely why Ave is such a tremendous album to this day. I can't believe how strong that album is even now, all these years after it was released. 5 years, can you believe it? And now here you are again. You're back with There's Only Black. And look, they're studying contrast, both albums, aren't they? They're very different albums. And I've had There's Only Black. I think I've had it for about a month or so now. Okay.
Okay.
And there's a whole bunch of superlatives that I could throw at you about it. But the question that I came to after really thinking about it was, Ave is a hell of an album, and so is this. But did you feel a lot of pressure and expectation? And you kind of answered it in some ways to follow up on Ave.
Well, yeah. I mean, it's an obvious question because I guess this is our sophomore. Ave was our first one as Venom Inc. But one of the things that I kept as the main kind of root of the whole thing was, because how do you approach it? Do you base it on how you sounded before, on past makings, past records, past music? And one thing I still did to Mantis at the very beginning, before we began all of it, was when searching for how should we approach it, is like we just play, we just write and we play because it's your identity. Nobody could hear a Jimi Hendrix, let's just say, because it's an extreme part, or a Steve Vai or a Yngwie Malmsteen and mistake it's another guitarist. Nobody would hear, let's say in this case, I don't know, a Bob Catley or a Vince Neil and mistake them as being another singer, or an Ozzy, or a Rob Halford. It's about that distinction, and within the music, okay, the guitars are the leading and the vocals maybe, but there's other factors too. You could tell who Cozy Powell was when he was playing, or John Bonham. Or Keith Moon. So it's like, or John Lord. So there's a keyboardist, if you're distinctive enough, and that's the thing. It's about the personality. And I said, if you disconnect your personality and try to be something that you're not, it will fail because it's dishonest. That's not to say I can't play Breaking the Law or God of Thunder, but I'm not those people playing it. Those people wrote it and played it, but they meant it to. And the key is, even if you haven't done the composition, the key is when it means something to you and you perform it in that way, it becomes something. So that was the key that I said to Jeff, we have to be ourselves. Whatever it is us. And that's the beauty of it. So we don't need to, it doesn't need to be like a black metal or a primeval or an empire. It doesn't need to be anything. It just needs to be whatever it is right now. And so that was the approach. And on RV, I think it was Jeff's first major production for a label. He produced the Empire stuff, of course, but this was a big thing for him. And they offered us producers, but he wanted to produce it. So I said, then you should. And they said to me, do you think he can do it? And I said, of course, who knows us better than him? So, and he did an amazing job. I was there, we worked through production together, and we had Calais, a friend of ours, who's an engineer, studio engineer, who worked really heavily on it for us, with us. And the result was what it was, and it had all that richness we really enjoyed and got really into it. So it was a rounded, it was a heavy production, it was kind of, rich in depth. But when we got to this one, of course, we had pandemic. So with There's Only Black, it was a different approach. We started to write after 2019. I had to have a hip operation. So we finished Wacken, was the end of our season. And I said, well, look, I'm going to recuperate for 6 to 8 weeks, maybe 12. At that time, I didn't know. So I said, why don't I'll come to Portugal and we'll just stay in your studio and we'll just write towards the new album. The idea of putting it out in 2020 and then go straight back on tour. Of course, as we know, the world went on pause for 2 years. So I then thought, well, we don't have pressure of touring. We can't release immediately. So why rush? Let's just take our time. So we were planning to visit each other, but we just kept being restricted. So we ended up doing it remotely. I wrote 12 songs. Jeff wrote 12 songs. And we shared those, and then we sent them to Jeremy Kling in Tampa, Florida, and he went in and put his drums down. And then I came back to me, I put my bass down, went back to Jeff, he put guitar down, they all came back to me, I put vocal down, and then that was it. We kind of mixed them, or Jeff mixed them. And then we looked at what we had and thought, this sounds great. It was very much live. We used the internet, the Zoom and all of that kind of stuff to talk and to play riffs through and change, if there was any changes or whatever. So we still did it as a real band, each in our own studios, as analog as we could do it. And so the recording process was slightly different, only slightly though. But the completion of it was very different to what we got to do on RV. But then Calais was in hospital. I couldn't go to Portugal, so Jeff was kind of man on spot. And it was like, just go with what you feel. We'd done all these live shows, several hundred live shows all over the world. Said, the essence of us is that live, whatever it is, the power, that drive, that ferocity. We need to put that into the record. And so he reduced gains on the bass so it isn't overly distorted. It was kind of heavier on the heavier distortion on RV. He also did that with his guitar because he doesn't use a lot of effect on there. A bit of distortion, bit of chorus. So he pulled that back and kept it a bit drier. And then we let Jeremy Kling just said, listen, you have to go with what you feel. So there was no drum map. There was just start the song, play what you feel, and that's what it is. And so I think this one, in a way, is less controlled and more us in a live vibe.
Yeah,
than
I can hear
on
that.
off.
Yeah. It's interesting you bring up Jeremy. Was he the obvious choice? Because I'm sure you're mates with Barker. So did you even talk to Barker about coming in?
Well, no, with that, for doing the album, we just did some shows with Nick. I got him to do the Black Metal anniversary shows with us.
Awesome.
And I'd asked Dave Lombardo at first as well, because there was only two people I could think to ask, but he was busy with the Testament thing. And then I thought, okay. And then I was going to give up. And then I just sat one day and thought, shit, Nick. So I called Nick, and Nick was like, yeah, absolutely. I was like, oh my God, great. So it was brilliant. But now I think when Abaddon had gone, Jeremy had sat into depth for him with the intention, I suppose, that Abaddon was going to come back, is what I thought. Nobody had actually told me any different. Certainly Abaddon hadn't spoken to me when he went, and didn't speak to me all the time. So I just thought, okay, well, I guess someone knows, but it's not me. So I just... Jeremy was going to sit in and Abaddon would return once he'd had his baby. Abaddon never came back. Jeremy stayed on the stool because we just kept gigging. And that was a fait accompli. When it came to doing the album, I think there was no point going outsourced. We thought, well, Jeremy knows how we play now. He'd really focused on how me and Jeff work together, on a sonic level as well, and he just seemed to fit that. So we just thought, well, Jeremy has to play on this, which he did, and the result I was so happy about. I mean, the world was open. Having Nick would have been amazing, but I think there's something about Jeremy that he really wanted to do the job, and so he really focused so much on learning not just the songs when we play live, for example, but on the technique. It's very hard to play something like Live Like an Angel, a B-side of the very ever first Venom single. It's very hard to play that live, and I want people to feel like it's the first time they've ever heard it. So it should have that retro feel, but it should also feel like it's vibrantly happening now. And Jeremy would go and listen to how Abaddon approached the drums and play that. And it's very difficult to play them kind of not as well as you can play them. So play them like you, but still give them that old school vibe. And somehow Jeremy manages to balance that thing out. So I think from my part, definitely to be able to do There's Only Black and let Jeremy just be himself, I think that was why I wanted him to do that. So say this is an opportunity where you're not playing an old school song, because he never even played on our age. You're not trying to copy something we've done. You can just let go and be everything that you are in every way you want to be, and see what that result was. And I was quite confident that he would be splendid. And I don't know about you, but for me, when I hear him play, it just excites me. I just love it because of his playing, So it was a good choice.
There's no question it works. It sounds great, but I got to be frank, mate. I got very excited when I saw you and Barker together in a recent photo. And I thought something might have been going on, because I've spoken to Nick a couple of times, and, I've written a book. You were in it too, by the way, my recent book, based on our last conversation, but so was Nick as well. And, Stuart Anstis recently passing from Cradle of Filth, unfortunately died, and, the tremendous impact he had. I think I'm just waiting to see Nick get back into a band like you guys, like a world-class band. And he just, no disrespect to the other bands that he's been working with, but I think he needs to get back into a band like a Venom Inc. in order to sort of do his great talent justice again.
I think I agree with you, and I think that's why it was a good choice. And he wants to do more of the black metal shows if we do those. But I think I felt the same kind of thing. I just thought, here's an elder statesman who's done his work, done his job, is one of the premier underground drummers, certainly in the UK, he's the drummer to go to, and I just connect with him very easily. And as does Jeff, and so to be able to have him there, and I think I agree. And I didn't say there wasn't more to come. So, to have him doing those two things, it was amazing. To turn around, because there's only three of us in the band, so to turn around and Nick sitting up there, when we were doing Alcatraz, but Bloodstock Festival, which we did at 3:00 in the afternoon, and we're playing this set. The first time we played the whole black metal album, it's never been played before, and I know, even people going like. Dolan, because obviously the Corona Files and all of those will be going, that's not fucking, he shouldn't be, and that it's like, well, all I can say is they came to ask us, they didn't come to ask anybody else to do it, but because they knew we could do it, so we go and do that. But to be able to do that, and you turn around and you have a Dark Funeral and Machine Head and all these people standing on the stage with 23,000 people in front of you, and then I turn around and I'm looking at Nick Barcassette standing going, oh, we did it. It was mind-blowing. It was amazing. So I think we'd all like to have a bit more of that. So, watch this space.
Watch this space. Look, I hope I can ask about Jeff's health, if that's cool, but is he back on track? I know the heart attack thing a couple of years ago really knocked him about.
Yeah, he's good. I think it's physically, it was a hereditary thing. His father passed when he was only young, and when Jeff was only young, and it was a kind of hereditary thing. He didn't realize, was happening, but they fixed him, and so physically, he looks better. 11 weeks later, after the heart surgery, we were on stage, and I turned around, and at one point I thought, fucking hell, he literally looked like he was 22 years old. He had this pure skin, and not like me, saggy old twat with cigarette skin, but there was this young, and I was thinking, man, I kind of fancied him myself, I thought, wow, yeah, he looks... But, he just looked vibrant. But then when he came off stage, he looks very tired, so it obviously takes the energy as well. Because where they did his chest, it's fused. So he feels like he can't expand it enough to get the air in.
Jeez, yeah.
So it kind of feels like when we've been on stage and he's working really hard, because, like I said, we throw down on stage. It's 100%. We don't give 50. We don't get 60. We give 100%. And if we're feeling shit before we go on, so we're feeling 40%, we give 40%. You know what I mean? Whatever we've got in our tank goes on the floor. Yeah. And I think that now sometimes he thinks he's shallow breathing, so he loses energy and stuff. But you never can tell in performance, only afterwards in the dressing room. But that being said, he's still vibrant and still fit. But I think it's his mind, and it's a weird thing because, if you say, oh my God, I lost my child, I lost my mom, I lost my dad, I lost my uncle, I lost my house, I lost my marriage, I lost my dog, my cat, my fish, whatever it is, there's always a way you can talk to people because they've lost things too, because we all lose things. Yeah. So, your friends can kind of talk to you, your brothers and your siblings, and, they can talk to you and it kind of helps in a way, or you can even go to people who talk you through those experiences and they can help you on a psychological level. However, with death, it's a bit odd because you either die or you don't. And, but to die and then come back, which is what happened to him, even for a few minutes, is like, how do you talk about that? How do you understand that? So there's a limit to what we can discuss to give him an understanding, and when it happens to people like this, they try and understand it. And it's almost like you've touched the void, you've touched...
Yeah, you're going right to the outer reaches. Yeah, I get what you're saying.
Yeah. And it's like the whole idea of the album. Initially, it was going to be called Nine. It was based on Dante's Inferno's Nine Circles of Hell. And I was doing this journeyman's travel through his life from birth to death and all of the things that humanity do in between. And it was in two parts. And then, we were exchanging, working, and then Jeff sent a song through and said, oh, here's a song. Do you want to have a listen to this? And he said, I kind of got lyrics and it's based on my death experience. And I was like, oh, okay, cool. Yeah, okay. like kind of like an exorcism? And he said, yeah, in a way. But I said, what's it called? And he said, well, when I went, I didn't see anything. I didn't see any angels or lights, anything. There was just black. So I've called it There's Only Black. And the minute he said that, I was like, that's the album. That's the album title, because it elicits so much of what humanity is. You know, what's in a black hole? Well, we think, well, it must be. But the only way you could be sure is if you could go in and find out. But of course, if you go in, you can't come back out. So I could go in and go, oh my God, this is not what I thought it was, but I couldn't come back and tell you. And the same thing with death, and the same thing at the end of the universe. You know, this is what happened, but what is at the end of the universe? What is on another planet? Is there life in the universe? What happens after life? You know, what's in a black, you know, we're constantly pushing boundaries and asking questions throughout our life of what is the meaning? What is the meaning of things? Why are we here? So I kind of just encapsulated all of those things. And I thought with energy, with light, you know, if we turn off all the stars, there's only black. If our sun goes out, there's only black. If you turn off all the lights in your house on an evening and turn off all your electricity, there's only black. You know, it's like once you take the light away from everything, there is nothing. And what is light? It's the font of energy, but it's also knowledge. You know, people talk about light and knowledge. You know, Lucifer was the light bringer. What does that mean? Well, he was a light bringer. He brought light to people in the dark who didn't know the answer. So it just was like, wow, that is it. So even using the black hole on the front, is it a black hole? Is it an eyeball? Is it a void? What is it? Is it just a ball of energy? Is that all there is? You know, I don't know. But if you come into the album, come into the black hole, come into whatever you think it is, maybe you'll find something inside. So it's kind of like an invitation in. So yeah, from that point of view, that changed the whole thing for me, the whole theme of it. And even on the cover, you know, using the font I tried to put the logo on. Yeah. Because people initially went like, what is that? Where's the logo? And it's like, well, you don't need the logo. And so someone even went to me, but hey, Tony, if you don't put the logo on there, how are people going to know it's Venom Inc? I said, what the fuck does it say on the front? Yeah. It says Venom Inc. So I said, they're going to know because they're going to say that. Yeah, but you know what I mean about the logo? I said, but the logo is, again, it's something else. That font I saw in a famous Highgate Cemetery in London, in North London where I live. It's a very famous cemetery. They have a lot of famous, renowned people buried up there, and a vampire cult and everything. I was just going through and I saw that on a gravestone, and that again just spoke to me. I thought that's got to go on the cover. There's meaning to that, you know. The being that is in the grave is long gone, but yet we still give meaning to it by words, and we created writing, and we created communication, and we put that on someone's grave. So who are we talking to? What are the people who don't know that person? You know, to make that person exist for longer than they actually, you know, all those kind of like cerebral questions were like running around my head. So I just thought this is the epitome. If you want to find out what the band's like, you know, you might see it for its face value, or you might want to explore a bit. But it gives you some depth to it on different levels. And when you come and see us, it's purely about the energy and the music that we share. So hopefully you get the best of everything. Yeah, but comparison-wise, it was its own entity. We couldn't follow Harvey by going, right, let's make it like Harvey, or let's combine the two, or Come to Me, the last single, which is one of my tracks, I guess that was a bridge track. I felt that had that atmosphere and stuff.
I was going to ask you, I was going to bring that one up. I think I said that feels like it could have been from those sessions. Is that what it was? Yeah. Okay. Yep.
No. Again, though, it was a composition. It was a composition just I did as spontaneously as I do all my work. You know, Jeff will kind of write and catalog things and pile them up and have tapes here and tapes there. And I just will sit down and just let it happen. So it's spontaneous. Whatever comes to me, and I don't question it. Then once I have it, I pass it off for other people to go, this bit's good, that bit's or whatever. But that one just came in a oneer. And I think I think it just felt immediately like it was a bridging track between the two. It felt
I
like
get what you're saying.
It could be from those sessions, but it wasn't intentional. I guess it was just, then you find that, that my personality is on that record because this sounds like it could be being on that record. But again, just personality, not intentional, which is why I thought that was a good track to have. And then Andy Pilkington did the video, and I said, like, it has to have that atmosphere because I wanted to bridge across. Because the first two singles might have felt a bit jarring, like, oh, this doesn't sound like Harvey. In fact, someone had said that. No, these don't sound like Harvey. I hope the next album is more like, because I loved Harvey. And it's like, well, this is the tip of an iceberg. You've got a journey to go on yet. You don't go like, right, we're not going any further when you don't know how far you've got to go yet. You wait till you know and then make a decision later,
Yeah, you're right. I mean, look, it doesn't sound like Primeval either, which certainly They didn't sound like either. And Primeval's, one of the all-time metal albums, let's face it. But it's I'm not saying you can't follow it up, but there's no point in trying because it's its own beast.
Yeah, I've got to say, one of the beautiful things I always liked about Venom, in the early days, because we go back to the beginning of the crime and we're all friends. But one of the things I always loved about them, which didn't happen with a lot of bands, was that every time they put a release out, it was fuck all like the one before. Like, if you can't put Warhead with Manitou, with Die Hard, with Bloodlust, In League with Satan, I mean, they're nothing like each other. And then if you think of comparative, if you think of Welcome to Hell against black metal, against The War with Satan, and then even Possessed, it's like, they don't sound, they're the same band, they're the same people, but production's totally different, the compositions are totally different, the approach feels different. So it's like, but shouldn't that be like that? Everybody wants Metallica to do Master of Puppets again. Tom Maria recently said again, I read recently that Tom Maria saying, everybody wants us to do another Rain and Blood, but it will never, it would have never happened because Rain and Blood was Rain and Blood. And it's like, why? Of course, I love Rain and Blood and I love Master of Puppets, and it would be great to have more of them, but why? Isn't that what makes them great? Because they stand out amongst the rest of the things. You even use the example with the Kiss show that you went to see. It's okay to play, some cuts and stuff like that, but you want to hear those songs. I want to hear those songs, and that's not Peter Criss, Ace Frehley, Paul Stanley, and Gene Simmons up there, but it doesn't matter. It still says Kiss. You still get to hear those songs, and those are the songs that you like, and you want to hear those. Yeah. For those guys, they've been playing them 50 years, but for you, it's the first time you saw Kiss, so you want to hear those songs live, So I guess it's that at the end of the day. It's having that. You don't have to repeat it when you record. It should be you now, because then it's honest. There's no way, if the Sex Pistols did another album, 10 years after they'd done Nevermind the Bollocks, it wouldn't have been like Nevermind the Bollocks.
Very different.
And people would have compared it because they were different people. They were older. They weren't, maybe they had some aggression, but maybe it was different aggression. When I was young, it was like, fuck my teachers, fuck my parents, fuck everybody. The world feels hopeless. 10 years later, it was a fuck my boss, fuck my job, fuck my electricity bill, and 10 years later, and that's like, oh, fuck my wife, fuck my ex, fuck my whatever, so you still have the anger, just changes who it's directed at, and you become a different person. So at each stage that you record, there's different things that have influenced you to speak out at that point. And so I think that's why everything should be of the moment, and then it's really honest. If 10 years later you go, let's remake black metal, you end up with Metal Black, and people going, what? Why was that ever going to work? It's never going to work, because you're trying to plagiarize yourself. You can't plagiarize yourself. It will never feel real, because you're not that person anymore. So I think that's the approach, to keep them different. Keep them, not different on purpose and not the same on purpose. Just do what you do now, and that's what it is. And then if everybody loves it, you're winning, and you've got your cars like James Hetfield, and you're living in your fucking big house. And if everybody hates it, you're back on the dole, or you're having knee surgery like Paul Diano, and you'll be doing some retro shows. That's the risk. But does that mean you don't do it? No, it doesn't. If it's who you are and the musician that you are, and you believe in what you're doing, then just be honest. The rest will work or will not work, but you're not in control of that.
Just on that, the two band situation there, you can clearly sell where my allegiances are based on what I've listened to and how I got into the group, which is through when we last talked about Primeval and stuff. But you know, look, I mean, when we talk about the deep cuts and we go deep into your legacy, okay, I don't think of you guys as a legacy band, I must confess, because I love what Ave just seemed to re-kick everything off. Now you've got this killer album here, which I just haven't lived long enough with yet, but I'm sure I will. I love it, but it's just a case of I need to live with it a bit longer in order for it to be like Ave, where, you know, 5 or 6 drinks into your night, I put an Ave, this sort of thing, you know, and it's just one of those things that sort of happens. But what about Temples of Ice and the Wastelands? Now, they were recently remastered. Now, I know it was done for cassette and vinyl. Now, were you guys involved in that?
Yeah, well, that, funny enough, that took me 20 years to get those things back. You know, there was a box set. I guess there'd been a couple of anniversary releases, a couple of box sets and stuff. And then, and that was, you know, like I say, 18, 20 years ago. And then someone had started to ask her, like, are you doing that with your stuff? And I was like, well, no, I don't think so. Maybe they are, I don't know. And then I kind of started to put some feelers out and found out where they were. The masters were Sanctuary at the time. And they said they weren't intending on doing anything, but I could license Primeval at £500 a track if I wanted to. And I was like, fucking hell. So I was like, right, well, I don't have the money, and then I've got to produce it and then put it out. And I was like, well, I'm not a record company, I'm just a guy in a band. So I thought, well, I can't do that. So I just left it. When I asked about the other product, they went, we don't know where that is, but we're not intending on doing anything. So every year I kind of made an inroad to inquire if they had a full catalog, what they had, could we, blah, blah, blah. Nothing was coming forward. And you know, it took me all of that time until Dissonance Records put out my Atomcraft stuff. Or the Atomcraft stuff, which of course I'm part of, and they re-released all the stuff in T-shirts and stuff. I was like, "What? How the fuck? How are they doing that?" And then they put Primeval out on CD and vinyl. So I went straight to BMG, who now have the masters and ownership. I had some great people, Mars and Pete, helping me there. Were brilliant. They tracked down to say that they whoever gave them license to do the Primeval had absolutely no rights because they hold the rights. So they stopped them producing any more. And then they, you know, let me know how the Atomcraft thing had happened and how they got that. And how they managed to get those tracks. And then while we were doing all of that, I thanked them very much. And I said, could you give me like a rundown of the catalogue that you've got? Because I could never get it from Sanctuary. I tried to Universal and it was all over the place. And I don't know if the drive at the time was because we weren't doing, it was pre-Empire of Evil. And then during Empire of Evil, Kronos was signed to Spinefarm. And Spinefarm Records is a subsidiary of Universal. And Universal was at the Sanctuary. And of course, they had the masters. And it started to feel like I was being prohibited. Like they wanted to protect Kronos's releases and making money from Venom. And he didn't want any of my stuff going out because he wanted to eradicate that part of the history. And so they were being prevented from me. Anyway, B&G were very helpful. They found all the stuff. They sent me the list and said, what do you want to do? I said, could you give me a license? You know, I've been ripped off for 40 odd years on this stuff. I've never had a penny. And why is it sitting in a basement somewhere when I could put it back out? And you do a box set of black metal and Welcome to Hell every single year. How many times do you want to package that? Yeah, and it's like, I mean, I'm not saying the albums aren't great, but it's like, add another bonus track, charge people another $50 on top just to get what's left.
Yeah, it's definitely enough already, isn't it? It's been overkill for a long time on that front.
Yeah, and they just announced they're doing another one on the same day our album comes out.
Surprise!
The same day. Yeah, it's like, right.
Oh, coincidence much. You're right.
Yeah,
okay.
Yeah. So I'm like, okay. But so they said, like, look, so they compiled everything and they very generously said, okay, you've got the exclusive license and you can have them. You do the box set, whatever, we'll give you that for 2 or 3 years. And I was like, that's amazing. So they put them up on digital platform. I got all the recordings, sent them to Jack Butcher in Texas, who specifies as a specialist in remastering. He remastered everything just because, some of the recordings were too tinny and just badly done. So he remastered them, sounded great. Then Rockmark, Vadim Komic at Rockmark in Belarus, who was a business partner, my agent. He repackaged the stuff up. We did a booklet. We put them all together and we released them as box sets. A box set cassette, a box set CD, and a box set vinyl, and then a separate. And the box sets, we thought limited. We'll obviously do limited numbers because everybody does limited, 300 to 1. That's collectors. Literally, we put the box set of vinyl out, and it was sold out in 8 hours.
Yep.
And we were like, "Fuck!"
Yeah, I missed out. I know it just went boom.
Yeah. Well, we're gonna have to redo them. We'll put the box set of the cassettes out. They went in a day. Box set of the CDs. They went in. I was like, "Oh shit!" So. And people are going, make more. But we thought, well, let's do something special. I mean, we just finished the box set, which is an anniversary special of the Wastelands. And so we're going to do that. And then I guess compile them all a bit further back into a box set further down the road, maybe with some new stuff as well. But it was just a surprise. And I thought, because I was thinking, we're going to end up with loads anyway. But it'd be nice just to have them. But no, it was the other story. So, I don't think those albums, the covers weren't as good. The metal in the 90s was dying here and across the world. We had grunge and Britpop and all that. So that was pretty cool. But I think there was some great material on there. Missed opportunity, bad album covers and bad production, but remastering them and putting them in the box set, I don't know, there's something a bit more special about that because they're all there now. So we can still have them as separate. You can buy the cassettes and the CDs, and for me, that's really amazing to be able to go to someone I'm associated with, knowing I've got them under license and be able to see the albums, which for 20 years were buried and I couldn't get near them. It's amazing. So it was good. It's good.
Has that flowed on to people asking for songs from Temple of Ice and the Wastelands as well when you're playing or when you're doing the fan meet and greets and stuff? In other words, hopefully it's opened up the music to a new audience.
Yeah, I think absolutely. I mean, we just, even at Alcatraz there, we do an Alcatraz, 22,000 people at that festival in Belgium. And we did the meet and greet, and there was a kid had like his one vinyl copy of the Wastelands. And I was like, wow, normally you'd see like Heine Klein and music or even at What We're Saying. But he looked like he was about 18, 17, 18. It's like, wow, that's amazing. And Primevals, I say all the time, of course, and stuff like that. But we actually did a show in London. I think was on, I can't remember what tour it was. Well, we did a show in London several years, a year or so before the pandemic, so several years ago now. And Al Barnes came down to the show because he lives local to London too, like me. And when he said he was coming down, I said, yeah, bring your guitar. So he was like, really? I said, yeah, bring your guitar. Why not? Just in case. So he brought his guitar down and we got him on stage doing Temples of Ice. Nice. Which people were like, oh my God. And it was amazing. It was amazing. But yeah, I put Temples of Ice in the set, and people have been asking for stuff for Wastelands Forever, Fairy Tale from Temples of Ice and In Memory of, and so yeah, and I think now what's happened, quite rightly what you said, but once I put the box set out, is that now a young crowd base is going, yeah, there's this stuff too, I mean, that's the richness of Venom. It's like, pre-me, me or post-me, I think if you think of Venom as a family, as a huge melting family, of course it started with mum and dad. Everything starts with mum and dad, but that doesn't mean to say that the family doesn't go off and do amazing things too. And it's all part of the family when you come back for Christmas. You're all in the same picture. So it's like, if you think of it in that way, it's like, what a catalog. You have like 40 years of music in all kinds of direction, hence incorporated. It's like, we could be on stage. We literally could be on stage for 4 hours and probably still lose songs that people go, you never played, blah, blah, blah,
Yeah.
But what a great position to be in when you can play, a whole load of great music to people, and at least one person in the audience, that's their favorite song. I mean, that's amazing. It's amazing. Yeah.
I'll make this one my final point, which is wrapped in final question, which is wrapped in a point. So I've had a number of chats with Riley.
Sorry, I like what you did there. Yeah.
Thank you. Look, I've had a number of chats with Riley over the years. Riley Strong from Desecrator.
Of course. Yeah.
And I got the full lowdown on that excellent show that you did at Frankie's Pizza with him back in, was it 2019 or thereabouts? You did that show with him back there that was it was put together, you guys were on tour or you're getting to come down on tour, and then the thing happened with Jeff and all the rest of it. But I'm in Brisbane, so I'm 1,000 kilometres away from Sydney, but I would have loved to have gone. But he told me about leaving his pedal rack in the taxi. Do you remember that?
Yes.
And it almost didn't go at the gig, and he was already stressed, and then that just sort of went to overload to the point where you go, I don't know what I'm going to do, sort of thing. But what are your recollections of that gig?
Well, yeah, it was amazing. I mean, obviously because of Jeff, so it was like, wow, well, we can't do it. And it was just coming to Australia for that one night. So one night show. So it's kind of a long way to jump in a cab to go just for the one show. But I'd never been to Australia before. We'd gone down there with Doug and Amabel, from Hardline Media. And of course, I knew the Desecrator boys because we'd done the tour and stuff. But I was so excited. And from the minute I landed to, everywhere we went, Canberra, Perth, Sydney, I don't know, there was just something magical about it for me. I loved the people, I loved the smell, I loved the food, I just loved the vibe, and I loved it. Oh my God, I'm actually in Australia, like a bucket list thing, but you think, am I really doing this, And so I loved it. So, I was so burnt that we couldn't go to do this thing at the Christmas at Frankie's Pizza place in Sydney, and I was like, fuck, because I'd been so looking forward to it. But life's life. And then Doug and the guys said, well, why don't you just come down anywhere? Maybe you could do it with Desecrator. And I thought, that's a fucking brilliant idea. So I get to be with my Aussie buddies, and well, yeah, why not? We're just having a Christmas party, for fuck's sake. So I was like, well, if you're sure, they were like, yeah, let's do it. So that's what we did. And I even got Doug, because of course, Doug Dalton, who runs Hardline Media, is also the guitarist in Killraiser, So, and he's this monolithic, gigantic Australian short wearing digger, with his hair tied up and looks like he should be driving a 4x4 across fucking, Ayers Rock in a Warner, and everything that I imagine this big fucking meaty, hard-nosed Australian outback guide to look like, but with the sweetest heart and the most generous, sweetest heart. I mean, you wouldn't want to go down the back alley with him if you pissed him off, but, just such a generous person. And it really touched my soul, And so we were in rehearsals. I went in with the guys, we were in rehearsals, and they were brilliant. They'd done their homework because they're professionals and they're so good. And we got a set together that would be kind of fun to do. And Dougie was standing there. I said, Doug, you haven't got your guitar? And he was like, what? And I said, you haven't got your guitar? And he was like, well, I'm not playing, am I? I said, you're fucking on now. You got to play black metal. So that was it. And so to have him join on the night to play black metal was like, it was so mind-blowing. Awesome. But yeah, I think there was lots of maybe, well, I wasn't nervous. I was just excited and wanted to do it. But I think maybe from the boys, they felt a bit of pressure. But it was like, we're such incongruous. We're such like kind of laid back. And I'm very it happens. Whatever happens, happens. And that's the fun of it. So don't worry, you know, just play. Just play. It is what it is, you know, it's a moment. And if it goes perfectly, it's perfect moment. And if it goes not perfectly, it might not be a perfect moment for you, but it might be for someone else. And the very fact that we're there, we're doing it, it's live. It's if you can focus on the energy and the togetherness, mistakes can be forgiven, you know. But if you don't have the energy in there because you're trying to be perfect, then it's not going to be what it should be.
Yeah.
So, you know, and the place was rammed. I mean, it was such a cool place. You know, you had such bands on there. Anselmo had played there with his band. Everybody had played there. So, you know, to be able to do that, and it was rammed in there. It was Christmas. It was Australia. It was like, it couldn't get any better. You know, backstage, there was probably as many people as there was out front. So, but yeah, Riley was like, oh, fuck, mate, all my wreck mate was in the taxi. I was like, that's not good.
Oh.
That's not good. But I said, listen, we got a fucking amp, just plug into an amp and play. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter at this stage. You know, as long as we got a noise. I've done that myself. Got to places, they go, your pedal's not working, or this amp's not working, and you end up playing with totally nothing that you were going to play with. But, you know, at the end of the day, if it's inside you, that's what you're playing, you know.
Yeah.
The rest is just the technical. You know, you can fucking put a nail in with a brick if you don't have a hammer, as long as you've got the intention to. And if you don't have a hammer or a brick, you're going to find something to put the nail in. And it's kind of that situation. It's like, let's just nail it down. However it goes, it goes. But we're going to make sure it's nailed down. And yeah, it was just the best time. Even when people took pictures and said some amazing things. We had such a party afterwards. And then even when I see pictures of it, every time I see the pictures of us playing, my heart just fills up, you know. And they're doing, you know, Desecrate are doing their final ever show. There are messages from Gary Holt. I've done one. They're trying to make a really big show, and I hope everybody can get there because it's going to be a blinder, and it's a good way to say thank you. I'm not sure if they'll ever stop, but they're certainly going on a hiatus. But what a band, and you know that band, people as well. But their performances, you know, we took them out on a European tour with Suffocation, I think it was, or no, it was
nice.
Vital Remains, and all over Europe. You know, just stalwarts. They crewed, they teched, they kept going even when they typical Aussies, like they had like, you know, one chicken leg between them 5 days in a row and didn't complain. Slept in a gutter one night, didn't complain. You know, they just were workhorses. But when they went on stage, they delivered like hands down, 1,000% every time. And it was like, what a band, and what a way to raise an Australian flag. So, yeah. But Riley and the boys, just amazing boys. And it was that show that I brought COVID back to the UK. I'm sure I certainly brought it back to everybody. Yeah,
you're the guy.
Yeah. When I finished there, I had to go through fucking Hong Kong. So I went through Hong Kong and then came to the UK. And when I got back, it was like, you know, Christmas time, and I was like, I saw my daughter who was at university, and I said, I don't feel so good. I said, how about you? She went, I don't feel so good. And I said, yeah, you know what I think's happened is you've brought some shit from university and you've given it to everybody. And of course it was, you know, the following February, March, where they said this thing
blew up.
Of course it was in Hong Kong, and I was like, oh my God, I brought it here. So yeah, I might get that tattooed on me. It was my fault, you know. So
COVID patient number one, British COVID patient.
I tell you what. As shit as it was, and as shit as I felt, and as scary as the whole, you know, the disease, I'd still go and do it again, even knowing it. You know, if I went back in time and they went, do you want to go and do that Australian thing again? Because when you come back, you're the one who brings it. I'd still bring it back. I'd still do it. Because it was so
good. We all got through it for the most part, you know. I mean,
yes, exactly.
Yeah. Do you think you guys will be coming back down again soon? Has there been conversations around that?
Yeah, there has. I mean, we had it penned in for the year before last, and then last year. Yeah. So we're looking at next year now. And where the idea is, I think, well, we're definitely coming with Exciter with Dambila and the boys.
That's right. I spoke to Dan about that. Yeah. It's sort of,
because they'd they've never been to Australia, so you know they were. And I went to see them 2 weeks ago in London. I went to see Dan and at the show and the guys, and we hung out, and it was fantastic. And we obviously mentioned about Australia, so we're looking to make that happen. And I think Hardline's looking to the dates for us now, and we possibly might bring Raven back down with us. So we'll make it a triple hitter of 333. So that's 666, really. I guess
666. Indeed, it is.
So yeah. We thought, so as soon as we can. So I guess February, March, April, or March, April, right about there. So yeah, I can't wait.
Things are starting to kick off again, and I was hoping you'd say that because I didn't bloody get the shows last time. I had to, young kids and stuff. It's hard to get out, but I was really looking forward to it, and I was so disappointed that I didn't get it. But I've got this one, mate. Next time you're in town in Brisbane, I'll be there for sure. Hopefully we can catch up too and have a beverage, mate.
Absolutely. Well, you're always a guest, so you make sure you let me know when you can get to a show, and I'll get you in touch, and then you come back, and then you can chat to Jeff too, and you can chat to us face to face, and we can have a bit of a quaff too.
Nice, mate. Yeah, nice. Well, look, this chat's has been as good the second time around as it was the first time around.
Absolutely.
Love your work, brother. Just love what you guys are doing at the moment. More power to you and more strength to you, and definitely catch up with you when you come down.
Bless you. Thank you so much. And good to see you again. And please give my best to your family too. And we'll see you very, very soon next year.
Absolutely, mate. Looking forward to it.
Oh, have a good one. Talk very soon.
No worries, mate. Talk to you again. Thanks very much again. Ciao.
Take it easy. Bye.
See ya. There he is. I always enjoy my catch-ups with Tony. He's a fantastic fella, as you can hear throughout that chat there, and I do look forward to catching up with him and Jeff when they arrive in Australia for some shows sometime, hopefully in the near future, maybe those April shows. They'll eventuate in that month there, but we'll see. The lads certainly want to come down, so that is 95% of it in my experience, that the band wants to tour somewhere, it generally happens. Now, if you like listening to the show, maybe you like reading the book about the show, Scars and Guitars, Volume 1, Conversations from the World of Heavy Metal and Beyond. You can read excerpts from chats that have been posted to the podcast, well over 60 of them as a matter of fact, and there's 90 musicians that feature amongst its pages, from Death to Morbid Angel, Tony and Jeff, and even Abaddon. Last time I had a chat to Tony, Abaddon was still on the band. They feature amongst the pages. Next book I'm halfway through writing it because I've enrolled my masters. So yes, the book is selling well, and I appreciate that. God bless you if you've bought a copy. Go across to scarsandguitars.com, click the link on the banner. You'll be taken to a marketplace of your choice. You can download a sample, and if you do complete the purchase, let me know, because I want to thank you personally. And here's a little bit more information about the book. But before I let you go, my name's Andrew Mackay-Smith, and I'm the host of the Scars and Guitars podcast series. Until next time, it is a very goodbye for now.
This is Eric Rattan of Cannibal Corpse. You are listening to the Scars and Guitars podcast with Andrew Mackay-Smith.
I've been the host of the Scars and Guitars podcast since 2017. The first musician I interviewed for the show was David Vincent from Morbid Angel, and things have just snowballed from there. In all, I've posted almost 650 podcast episodes featuring conversations with many of the leading lights of rock, heavy metal, and beyond. It just got to a point where I thought, I need to write a book about all this, so that's exactly what I did. In Scars and Guitars Volume 1, you'll read a heap of deep reveals and commentary, such as Des Fafara talking about Coal Chamber and why the band will never return.
If you're a band just starting out, you need to hear me. Do not start a band with partners. Ever.
Yeah, wise words there. Sage advice, mate, for anybody.
Don't ever, because I can't go do Coal Chamber right now unless I get others involved.
Phil Anselmo talks about the episode in his career which gives him the greatest sense of accomplishment.
I think the staying power of the fans and the staying power of of the songs, you know, whether it's Pantera, Down, or Superjoint, the fans remember the songs.
Alex Skolnick from Testament confirms that, yes, playing the guitar in Ozzy's band is anything but an ordinary gig. Will Silent Oz from Dimmu Borgir write a book? Pa from Sabaton gives advice to people who want to start a band.
Look at the team around you, look at the bandmates. If the guys want to be on the stage, then it's all cool. If the guys want to be backstage, then it's not going to be cool.
Current and former members of Cradle of Filth discuss the band's seminal 90s material. Read about the reaction to George Lynch and Mark from Suicide Silence's comments when they throw shade at then President Donald Trump.
We have this idiotic monster, you know, this egotistical, self-aggrandizing, complete piece of shit in there. I just can't understand how we've gotten to this place.
And yeah, we kicked a hornet's nest with Sepultura. Percussive overlord Gene Hoglan talks about recording with Chuck Schuldiner.
Chuck was always, he was very open-minded, and he was into having his musicians that were playing with him just reach out for the best stuff that they had.
Phil Campbell from Motorhead discusses what it takes to get sober. John Five answers his critics who dismiss his tenure with Marilyn Manson.
You know, my name is John Five, and Manson gave me that name, and I had some of the best years of my life in that band and learned a lot. And
we get the lowdown on Treyarch Zagtoth from those who would know, including his mother. All across Scars and Guitars Volume 1, there are moments of tension, relief, tragedy, exhilaration, and throughout it all, you'll obtain insight that I believe no one else has managed to obtain from many of your favourite artists. So treat yourself. Scars and Guitars Volume 1 is currently available as an ebook with a print edition on the horizon. Follow the links attached and download a sample. I'm sure you'll be compelled to read the whole book.